July 5, 1937, Herald Journal, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Evelyn Nesbit returns to nightlife that catapulted her into grim tragedy. By Helen Welsheimer, New York. If you go down a flight of steps on West 54th Street in Manhattan, you will find a supper club, the Weevil, where hillbillies sing, a ventriloquist talks, and a few girls dance. You will also find Evelyn Nesbit Thaw. In this gaily noisy setting, the most maligned and best-known American woman of the early century is staging a comeback to the Manhattan nightlife where once she was tragedy's child. Why talk about yesterday, she says, that's over. Lots of things have happened since, and we must be judged by what we are doing today. It's my duty to entertain people, to sing my torch songs and swing lyrics and novelty ballads to make them happy when they come to the club. It's lovely to be able to do this. There was a time, you see, when I couldn't go out on the street without having women cut pieces of my hair and my clothes and try to get to me. I suffered so much then, but that was long ago. Near 50, but acts young. Yet, to the public, the name of Evelyn Nesbit conjures up the vivacious, sparkling 17-year-old chorus girl from Pittsburgh, for love of whom her young husband, Harry K. Thaw, shot and killed Stanford White, America's most famous architect, one night in 1905 at the old Madison Square Garden. Miss Nesbit is around 50 now. Her waistline has thickened, her hands show the vain tracery of the years, but the gaiety and friendliness of manner that made her a favorite day before yesterday have not diminished. She looks young, she acts young. Her fingernails, toenails, and lips are stained the same crimson. She wears open green sandals, green ornaments, and a flesh-colored lace frock. Her hair is shining chestnut, worn with curled bangs, and her eyes are brown. I'm afraid of women, she admits. I feel safer with newspaper men. I never know what women will write about me. You'll be kind, won't you? Miss Nesbit has been absent from Broadway for 5 years. I returned because I was lonely and wanted something to do, she explains. After all, just sitting around grows tiresome and, once you've been in show business, the call of it stays in your blood. I had a long illness, after which I went to work in small clubs around New York before I came back to Broadway. Of Harry Thaw, the man who was her husband, she says little. Miss Nesbit prefers to talk about her esoteric philosophy rather than any of the tragedies of the past of her present comeback. It was 20 years ago, when the public still was scorning her because of the murder her husband committed, that she turned to 3 books for comfort. They are The Secret Doctrine, she says. H.P. Blavatsky brought the religion they describe to America from Tibet, where certain monasteries practice it. A reader must learn to unlock their doctrine to understand them. In the Book of Gian, which is 25,000 years older than Genesis, you find this help. Of course, it all comes from India. This religion gives one a mental poise and understanding of life. My father was a lawyer who used to say that I had a hungry mind. Perhaps it led me to take up this philosophy. If you wish to see the books and study them, I'll be happy to bring them to my dressing room any night. Don't be discouraged if it is hard to discover the secret of the religion at first, for it suddenly will come. The woman who escaped from the cruelties of the world that tried her instead of her husband for a crime he committed admits that her present peace and natural gaiety are a result of this religion. Anyone expecting to see in Evelyn Nesbit a tragic, sallow-faced, despondent creature will be astounded at the vivacious woman who confronts her audiences. I studied at Columbia University following the tragedy, she reminisces. I took English literature, anatomy, biology, psychology, everything. I enjoyed studying, and I have had something to do during the years when I was shut up in my hotel room, because the crowds gathered whenever I appeared. The crowds, she remembers, were unsympathetic. No one in the world had any way of knowing Harry Thaw ever intended to shoot Stanford White, who was a fine and kind man. We just had returned from our honeymoon. It was 2 years before, when I was 15, that I had known Mr. White. If Harry Thaw hadn't been crazed with insane jealousy, he never would have taken a gun along that night. He knew of my former friendship with the architect before we were married. He wasn't drunk the night of the murder. Oh, it took a lot more than the one brandy or liquor he had at dinner to get Harry Thaw drunk. Anyway, when the case opened, Miss Nesbit told of her friendship with the architect. At once, the public censured her for the death. It couldn't happen today, she says. People are so much kinder and more understanding. They would not criticize a girl for a past deed, and they would know that a man is accountable for his own actions. But she doesn't talk often of the past. Rather, she likes to taste the restaurant's 60 varieties of smorgasbord delicacies, sing, and chat with old friends who drop in. Life is good, she says. It's lovely to be singing on Broadway again.